I didn't realize the hotel room had a second door until someone tried to open it at 3 in the morning. The night I checked in, everything felt slightly off in a way I couldn't explain. It was a roadside hotel I'd booked last minute after a long drive. It's the kind of place with buzzing fluorescent lights and a lobby that smelled faintly of old carpet cleaner. The clerk barely looked up when I gave my name. He slid the key across the counter, told me my room number, and added almost as an afterthought that housekeeping wouldn't be coming by in the morning. His tone suggested that wasn't a request. The hallway outside my room was quiet in that hollow, padded way hotels always are. My footsteps sounded too loud, like I was interrupting something. When I opened the door, the room looked normal enough. Bed, dresser, small desk, bathroom tucked to the side. But there was a strange coldness in the air, even with the heater running. It felt less like air conditioning and more like a draft that shouldn't exist. I dropped my bag, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. That's when I noticed the second door. It was on the wall opposite the bed, painted the same beige as everything else. At first I thought it was a closet, but there was no handle on my side, just a flat door with a deadbolt and a small metal plate beneath it. I told myself it probably connected to a maintenance corridor or an adjoining room. Plenty of hotels have those. Still, something about it bothered me. I walked over and pressed my ear against it. Nothing, just silence. I slept badly. Every sound pulled me halfway awake. Pipes ticking, something thumping somewhere above me, the low hum of electricity in the walls. Sometime after midnight, I woke up feeling like I wasn't alone. The room was dark except for the orange glow of the parking lot lights bleeding through the curtains. I lay still, listening. That's when I heard it. A soft click, like metal touching metal. It came from the second door. I sat up, heart already racing, staring at it. A moment passed, then another click, louder this time. The deadbolt on the other side was turning. I got out of bed slowly, my feet cold against the carpet. I didn't know what I planned to do. Yell, run, call the front desk. I stood there, frozen, watching the door handle on the other side jiggle slightly, as if someone was testing it. Then it stopped. I waited, barely breathing. After a long, quiet stretch, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Exhaustion does strange things. I locked the main door again, double-checked it, and went back to bed, keeping my eyes on that second door until I finally drifted off. In the morning, I went straight to the front desk. I asked about the second door in my room. The clerk frowned like he didn't understand the question. When I explained, he hesitated, then told me some rooms used to connect to old service areas that were sealed off years ago. Well, nobody has access anymore, he said quickly, like he wanted to end the conversation. I asked if anyone could have tried to open it from the other side. He shook his head too fast. No, he said, that's not possible. I almost believed him. That night it happened again. This time, it wasn't just the lock. I heard breathing, slow, deliberate, right on the other side of the door. Whoever it was didn't try to open it right away. It just stood there, breathing, like they knew I was awake and listening. I backed toward the main door, my phone in my hand, but I didn't call anyone. I don't know why. Maybe I was afraid of making noise. Maybe I didn't want to admit what was happening. The breathing stopped, replaced by a light scratching sound, fingernails dragging gently across the wood. Then a voice spoke. It was low and calm, so close it felt like it was inside my head. It said my name. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The voice said it again, more softly, like it was reassuring me. Then it laughed. Not loud. Just a quiet, amused exhale. Well, I didn't sleep after that. I sat in a chair facing both doors until the sun came up. I checked out early. I told the clerk I'd changed my plans. He nodded like he'd expected that. As I turned to leave, I noticed something behind the desk. A wall of old keys, dusty and unused. One of them had my room number on it. What? It wasn't on the hook. Picture this. A cozy fireplace, twinkling lights, the smell of pine and gingerbread. It's Christmas, and a familiar, mischievous kid is setting up traps. We all know this story, right? Home Alone, a classic holiday adventure. But what if the story we all know and love is just a cover-up? What if Kevin McAllister's biggest fear wasn't a couple of clumsy burglars, but something lurking in the shadows of his own home, something that was never caught on camera? What I'm about to share with you is a story that has been buried for decades, Story that twists the festive cheer of Home Alone into a genuine Christmas nightmare. We're going to peel back the layers of this beloved film and expose a chilling reality that has been hiding in plain sight. This isn't about booby traps and comedic gold. It's about a real-life event that happened on a cold Christmas Eve. An incident so disturbing it was scrubbed from public memory, replaced by a feel-good Hollywood blockbuster. It all starts with a forgotten police report from 1990, filed in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Chicago. The report details a frantic 911 call from a young boy, home alone, claiming there was an intruder. But this intruder wasn't after the family silver. The boy's descriptions were bizarre, almost unbelievable. He talked about a figure that moved too quickly, presence that felt cold and unnatural, something that didn't leave footprints in the snow outside. The police arrived to find the house in disarray, but with no signs of forced entry. The boy was safe, but visibly terrified. The case was quickly dismissed as a child's overactive imagination, fueled by holiday excitement and being left behind. But that's where the official story ends, and where our investigation begins. What the police report didn't mention, and what has been kept under wraps until now, is what was found in the basement. It wasn't a furnace that looked like a monster. It was something that couldn't be explained. Investigators who were first on the scene spoke off the record about strange symbols, drawn on the walls, and a lingering scent of something ancient and foul. These details were omitted from the final report, chalked up to gas leaks or faulty wiring. But a few brave officers knew they had stumbled upon something truly sinister. This is where the confession comes in. Years later, one of the original responding officers, now retired, decided he could no longer live with the secret. He reached out to a small, independent journalist, risking his reputation and pension to tell the truth. He confessed that the department was pressured from higher up to close the case and bury the evidence. Why? Because the truth was too terrifying for the public to handle, especially during the Christmas season. The boy, whose real name has been protected, wasn't just left home alone. He was bait. According to this confession, the family had a history. A dark lineage connected to local folklore about a winter Antodia, shadow of the solstice, that was said to visit homes on the longest night of the year. This entity wasn't looking for presents. It was looking to feed on the fear of the isolated and the lonely. The McAllister family, or whatever their real name was, had a pact with this entity, a pact that was broken that year. Leaving their youngest son behind wasn't an accident. It was a desperate, horrific offering. The next time you watch Home Alone and laugh as Kevin outsmarts the wet bandits, remember the chilling story that inspired it? Remember the real boy who faced not two bumbling criminals, but a timeless, malevolent force. The traps, the screams, the clever tricks, they weren't for comedy. They were a child's desperate fight for survival against a Christmas nightmare that was all too real. The truth is out there, hidden between the frames of our favorite holiday movie. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe check your locks tonight. The call light outside, room 312, went off at the exact moment the room's chart disappeared from the system. I still don't know which terrified me more. I worked night shifts at St. Alden's Memorial for nearly 3 years, long enough to understand that hospitals never truly sleep. Even when the halls go quiet and the lights dim, there's always movement, carts rolling in the distance, machines breathing for patients, the occasional muted sob from behind a curtain. You learn to live inside that constant hum. You tell yourself that anything strange has a rational explanation, because believing otherwise makes it impossible to do your job. Room 312 was supposed to be empty. It had been cleared that morning after an elderly man passed during surgery. Terminal complications, no family present. By policy, the room stayed unused overnight. I remember because it was the only dark doorway in the West Wing, its lights shut off, its bed stripped bare. Around 2 in the morning, the call light flickered on. At first, I assumed it was a wiring fault. That wing was old, and electrical issues weren't uncommon. But when I checked the nurse's station monitor, room 312 showed as occupied. No name, no vitals, just a blinking bed icon. I walked down the corridor with that familiar knot in my stomach, the one that comes when you know something's wrong but can't explain why. The air felt colder near the room, sharp and stale, like a basement that hadn't been opened in years. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, the bed was made. White sheets tucked tight, pillows fluffed. The heart monitor was on, its screen dark, but humming softly. I stood there longer than I should have, listening to the quiet, convinced someone was breathing just out of sync with me. Hello? The call light shut off. I documented it as a system error and told myself to forget it. Hospitals are full of glitches. But the rest of the night I kept feeling watched, not stared at, observed patiently. Every time I passed room 312, the door was closed. Every time I checked the charting system, the room was gone again, as if it had never existed. The next night, a patient was admitted across the hall. A middle-aged woman recovering from pneumonia. Around 3, she pressed her call button repeatedly, frantic. When I rushed in, she grabbed my wrist hard enough to hurt. "Keep standing there," she whispered, pointing toward the doorway. "He doesn't move. He just waits." I asked her who she meant. She described an older man in a hospital gown, pale, his face slack like he was mid-thought. She said he'd been there for hours watching her sleep. Room 312 was directly behind her. I checked the hallway, empty. But when I turned back, the woman was crying silently, eyes fixed on the door, her breathing shallow. "He's mad, I told you," she said. I requested a psych consult and told myself she was delirious. Infection can do terrible things to the mind. Still, I couldn't shake the image she described. It matched the photo I later found buried in the archives, a grainy staff badge from years ago. Same man, same face. He had been a patient who died during surgery. In room 312, things escalated after that. Motion sensors triggered in empty corridors. Wheelchairs rolled inches on their own. Call lights activated in rooms marked vacant. It's always near 312. Always between 2 and 4 in the morning. One night, while charting alone, I heard footsteps pacing above me. That floor had been closed for renovations for months. I radioed security. They reported no movement. But the footsteps continued, slow and uneven, like someone learning how to walk again. I checked the system logs. Every anomaly traced back to a patient ID that no longer existed. No name, no records, just a blank space where information should have been. On my final night shift, the call light for room 312 came on again. This time the monitor showed vitals. Slow, steady, alive. I stood outside the door for a long time, my hand hovering over the handle. The smell was unmistakable, sterile, metallic, old. When I finally opened it, the room was exactly as it had been before, except the bed was occupied. The man lay still beneath the sheets, eyes open, chest rising shallowly. He turned his head toward me with effort, like it hurt to do so. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. The heart monitor flatlined. Every machine in the room shut off at once. The lights went dark. In the silence, I heard a whisper right beside my ear, cold and strained. "Don't send me back." The lights came on. The bed was empty. The room stripped bare again. I quit 2 weeks later. St. Alden's closed the West Wing shortly after, citing structural issues. But I still get calls sometimes from former coworkers. They ask if I ever figured out what was wrong with room 312. I tell them the truth. Whatever was admitted, they're never checked out.